Okay, brilliant. So it's half past the hour when we're due to start, so I will get started. So thank you very much for everyone who has joined us today. We're super excited to have you with us. So today's webinar, we are going to be looking at reporting structures in LifeQI, having a look at different examples and how you might want to structure your reporting. So before I get into the detail, just a little bit of housekeeping. So we've got my lovely colleague Lewis on the line with us today, and he'll be monitoring any questions that come through. We do absolutely love questions, so please feel free to pop them either in the chat or the Q&A box, and we'll be monitoring them as we go through. As this is a webinar, all attendees are muted and your videos are off, but please do participate by dropping anything in the chat that you may want to ask or talk about. So before I get started, I'm just going to check that everyone can hear me and see me okay. Lewis, am I coming through all right?
Yes, coming through fine for me, Sophie.
Amazing. Perfect. Okay, great. So let's think about kind of what I mean when I say reporting structures in LifeQI. So essentially, what we're able to do is we are able to create your organizational reporting structure in LifeQI in order to help you track quality improvement work taking place across different levels of the organization. So what we're going to look at today is how we can replicate your organizational structure. And by doing so, we can then easily link improvement work taking place to specific areas of the organization. We're then going to have a look at kind of what the analytics area in LifeQI can look like. We can set up some bespoke reporting, some bespoke dashboards in order to track and manage the improvement work taking place across that organizational structure within those specific areas. And it doesn't matter how simple or how complicated your structure may be. So we're not really going to be going into the how-tos today. It's more of a what can we achieve, what the different levels are, and how that might look. So without further ado, let me share my screen. Okay. Okay, so the first thing we're going to think about is what I mean when I say an organizational structure. Now, everyone's organizational structure is completely different. Some of you may have a really, really simple structure, like we can see in front of us. So it might be that your organization is at the top, then underneath we just have some divisions. So as you can see here, we have our medical division, our women and children's division, and our surgical division. So we are just structured by top level organization and then the divisions underneath. So we can actually then replicate this structure within LifeQI in order to report not only at an organizational level, but also at a divisional level as well. So let's have a look at what this may look like in LifeQI. So the first thing we want to think about is how we actually show that structure in LifeQI itself. Now, the way we do that is through what we call groups. So hopefully on my screen, you can see here on the right-hand side of the page, I have groups linked to my organizational profile. Now, these groups are used as a way to show my structure. So you can see I've got my children's division, my corporate division, my trauma division. So all of these groups are essentially showing the different divisions across my organization. Now, the reason that we use groups is groups are a really good way to organize and manage your work. When you're setting up a quality improvement project in LifeQI, you can link those projects to those groups by adding them as a member to those projects. Now, what that's going to do, that's going to align them to the relevant area. It's also then going to house the project within that group. And it's also then going to automatically populate your overarching dashboard that you have and align them to the relevant areas of the organization. Now, groups aren't just used for kind of organizational structure. You can also use groups for themes of work. So you can see here we've got a sepsis works stream group. We have kind of a training cohort group. So you can use groups for other uses, not just to represent your organizational structure. But let's just dive into my children's division group and see what that looks like. So as you can see within the group itself, we have the ability then to come into the group and see which projects are taking place within that specific division. And the way that the projects get added is, as I mentioned earlier, when you are creating your project in LifeQI, you can link that group as a member, and then your project will then show up here within that group. You'll also have the ability to create discussions within that specific group as well. So I can have a discussion within my children's division group around anything that is relevant or taking place within that specific division. So that's kind of the basics of how we create your structure. We have your organizational profile at the top level, and then we create groups for the structure underneath. Now, obviously, we're looking at that kind of first example of quite a basic organizational structure. So just the organization with the divisions underneath. So further to us being able to have a group to house all of the work happening within that relevant division, what we can also do is we can also set out some organizational overarching dashboards to track and monitor the quality improvement work taking place. So the first example we're going to look at is this overarching organizational dashboard. Now, this dashboard here is used for me to track everything taking place within my organization as a whole, across all of the divisions, across everywhere. So the types of things that we can pull through to your dashboards are stuff like tracking your current projects. So how many active projects do we have? How many might be showing improvement? How many might be showing significant improvement or showing outstanding results? We can track our projects over time and look at our cumulative active projects and hope we see them increasing, going up. We can then start to think about how we can break this down by my division. So here I've got my project progress scores broken down by group. So what this chart is telling me is that's telling me how many projects within each division I have within which progress score. So looking at the children's division here as an example, I have 3 projects that are showing outstanding results. I have one kind of within the 3. I have one scoring a 3.5 and one scoring a 4. So we can then see how far progressed those projects are within each division. So I can see here that within my cardiac division, I've actually still got one in the 0.5, and within my clinical surgical division, I only have one project in comparison to the rest. So this is a really good way to understand how divisions are doing by themselves. We can start to think about our project progress scores over time as a whole. So we would hope to see these scores progressing. We can break down kind of how many new projects we've had at at the whole organizational level here within the last 7, 30, and 90 days. We can start to track our projects created each month to see if we've got any kind of trends in when the majority of the projects are started. Now, what we can then start to do is align our projects to relevant areas of our organization. Now, that might be through priorities. So you might have overarching priorities that you need to track across your organization. So we've got a couple of examples here of improving patient experience. Now I can see that I have 31 projects linked to improving patient experience. I have 13 linked to my improved health outcomes, 9 for my improved staff experience, etc. So we can start to really understand what is linked to what in our organisation, what quality improvement projects are taking place. Now at the bottom, this is quite a basic way of reporting on our division. So all of the information at the top is kind of showing us the overarching information at the whole organisational level. Then at the bottom, we can then start to break that down by each division. I can then see, okay, so I've got 8 projects happening within my children's division compared to 0 projects within my corporate division. This is going to give me quick and easy oversight of which divisions or areas of your organisation are doing the majority of work and which ones may be struggling and not running as much quality improvement work. This is a way for you then to really be able to target these areas that may need extra support and ensure that the improvement work is taking place where you need it to be taking place. Now, further to having just simple kind of counts by your organisational structure on your overarching dashboard, what we see across quite a lot of organisations is that we actually have quality improvement leads assigned to relevant areas of their organisation, whether that be departments, whether that be divisions, whether that be directorates. Now, those leads are responsible for helping the improvement work that's taking place within that area and also driving the uptake of that improvement work. So, what we can also do by using the group structure to show our organizational structure in LifeQI, we can then make bespoke dashboards for the individual areas. So, let me show you. So, moving over here, this is our specific children's divisional dashboard. So this is somewhere that we can go, we can come to the analytics area and come into the relevant areas, my children's division dashboard, and see exactly what is happening within that specific division. So similar to on our overarching dashboard, we have kind of how many active projects are happening within that division, how many completed. We can then track the progress by their progress score. Similar to the other one, we can track our progress scores over time as well. But what we can also do is we can start to bring out things like project summaries. So this is a really good way to quickly and easily identify projects that might be doing really, really well or some that are struggling. So let's have a look at this top one as an example. I can see that Erica is running an increasing joy at work project within my children's division, and she's currently scoring that a 5. So she's telling me that that's scoring outstanding sustainable results. But a quick scan here, I can see that she has no PDSA cycles and no SBC charts. So to me, I would be thinking, well, why is that a 5? Why is that showing as outstanding sustainable results when we actually haven't got any kind of other information within that project? So I could now reach out to Erica and ask for an update on her project and also see if she needs any support. So we can do these project summaries on any dashboard, and it's just a nice quick visual of the top level information from each of the projects happening within that specific area. So that's kind of the first quite basic structure that we're going to think about. So what we've looked at, just to go back, is kind of how we would represent your structure in LifeQI by using your groups. And then the fact that we can pull out dashboards across your whole organization and then relating to a specific area. Now, it might be that you have a super, super complex structure, and that's absolutely fine. So what we'll do is we'll have a look at the second option now. So let me just share my screen quickly onto our second one. Okay, so the second one we're going to think about here is we're now going a level down, okay? So at the top, we have our organization, similar to we did before, and we still have our divisions, so our first layer, our level 1 at the top here. But now what we can see is that underneath, we also now have our directorates. So we have a second layer underneath our divisions. What this is showing me is that I want to be able to report not only at organizational and divisional level, but I actually also want to know what's happening within each directorate as well. So we can really start to drill down on the granular detail and start to understand exactly what is happening in each division and then each directorate. So what we can then do is, coming back to LifeQI, we could then have a think about how we could then translate that into a dashboard within LifeQI. So similar to we did with just the children's division, we have a children's division dashboard that we can come to, but we saw on that slide that underneath the children's division, there's specific directorates that we need to report on as well. So at the top, we can see information for everything within our division. How many active projects, how many completed projects, and this is giving us a really good oversight of everything that's happening within that division as a whole. And then as we scroll down the page, we can then start to break this down by directorate as well. So we could then have a look at, okay, so I know how I'm doing as a division, but how are each of my directorates doing? How many have I got happening within this directorate, within maternity, within imaging? So as you can see, we can really get the levels of reporting that you need by replicating that organizational structure within LifeQI. We can even go one step further than that. So let me just take you back to our organizational chart here. Now, what we've got here is we have our organization at the top. We then have our medical of divisions underneath that and our directorates underneath that, which is great. But what we've got here is we've actually then got a third layer added. So the reason I'm showing you this is I want to show that we can really get complicated with this structure. It doesn't need to be a simple kind of one layer. We can drill down to as many layers as you need within your organizational structure. It is worth bearing in mind that we need these links to be linear. So as an example, what I mean there is underneath Directorate A, I would have my service lines linking directly there. It would be difficult if these service lines also linked to Directorate B. So it needs to go on like a linear chain. So you'd have the division and then a directorate and then the service line. So you can't cross from kind of Directorate A to Directorate B with service lines. But to take this kind of a step further, a lot of organizations actually have what we call kind of governance workflows within LifeQI. And that is a way for you to be able to ensure that this is a mandatory part of your project creation process. So what we can do by using the governance workflows is we can actually ensure that when our users are creating projects in LifeQI, they are automatically linking to the relevant service line, directorate, division, department, whatever it might be. And then that's going to ensure that all of our reporting is up to date and an accurate reflection. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually now going to show you how you would link projects to these areas, how that would look without the governance workflow, and then also how it looks with the governance workflow. So let me jump back into LifeQI. So in the same way that we create a project normally, what we're going to do here is we're going to go through the project creation process. So I'm going to start a new project here. Excuse my internet today. It's the end of the day and it doesn't want to work. So I would then put in my title as I would normally. I would then come through and fill out all of my details as I need to. But now on this project team page, this is where I'm going to do the linking to my organizational structure. So the first thing I need to do is I need to invite those groups that we have set up on our organizational profile page as a member to our project. So here we're going to click invite new members. We're then going to search for the relevant division or department or whatever it is that we've got in LifeQI and actually add that group as a member to our project. We can then list it as the lead group, and then that makes it reportable. So when we run project list reports, we're able to see which lead group it is linked to, and then we'll add that in there. So this is how we will get those dashboards to populate with the projects that are taking place, okay? By adding these groups as a member. So super straightforward. In the same way that you would add users, you just add your group. And then you would carry on and you would create your project as normal. Now, it's probably worth having a look at how that would look if you do have governance workflows within LifeQI, which is a kind of different set of functionality to the standard. So let's have a look at this one here. So it's exactly the same. We come through and we create our project. But now having our governance workflows on the system, what that's enabling me to do is that's making me have mandatory roles as part of my project creation process. So I'm now prompting the user that they have to align to the right area of the organization. And also here, I have got they have to align to a sponsor as well. So this is them prompting them that they need to align to these areas. So the first thing I'll do is align to my sponsor of my project, add them as a member. I would then add my lead group, my lead division. And what you can see here is it's automatically pulling through a list of my divisions from my organization. I would add the division as my member. And there we have it. We are now aligned to the relevant areas of the organization. Okay. So that's how we go about actually ensuring that the projects are going to the right areas. Now, it might be that after this call, this webinar, you think, oh, actually, this is a really good idea and we really want to do this and we want to kind of replicate our organizational structure in LifeQI. And it's super simple to do. So as we mentioned, the structure is set up via groups on your organizational profile page. So all you would need to do to set up this structure is from your organization page here, you click on this actions button and then you start a new group, okay? You can then create as many groups as you want in order to replicate the structure that you want to report on, whether that's one layer, whether that's 2 layers, whether that's 3 layers. And also it might be that you have lots of themed work going on. So you have theme work on sepsis, or we saw a lot of themed work on kind of COVID response work. So you can set up groups for any themes of work, any kind of organizational structure, and also any training cohorts that are taking place. So everything that we've looked at, all of those dashboards, they can be replicated for anything that you want to create a group for. So you would go through, it might be that this is my themed work. You can then just simply click create group. So it's really nice and easy to set up that structure within LifeQI. Now, going a little bit further, and thinking about our second example where we had kind of the divisions and then the directorates underneath. So we want to be able to report at multiple layers. What we would do for that is we're going to set up our groups the same way we did before, but we're going to set up our first layer first. So this is our divisional group, so our layer 1. We would go through and we would create all of our layer 1 groups and name them as we wish. Now, after that, we then need to create our layer 2 groups. So we can see here, we've got my layer 1, great, that can stay as it is. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to create my layer 2 group. So in the same way, I'm going to click on my actions button here. I'm going to hit start a new group. And then what I'll do is I will call this layer 2. Now, the difference here is what we need to do is we need to ensure that my layer 2 is linked and added to the relevant layer 1. Okay. So what I need to do is I need to invite my layer 1 group as a member to this group. So layer 1 here. So I'm going to add that. And then I'm going to hit yes, link this group, and I'm going to add it. Now, the reason that I'm doing this is because I want my users to link to their layer 2 when they create their project. I want them to link to their directorates rather than their divisions. By creating this layer 2 and having the layer 1 as a linked group to it, whenever anyone links to that directorate, it's going to automatically pull through my top layer. I'll show you what I mean in a minute because that's quite wordy what I just said, but let me show you. So I've now created my top level group, which is my layer 1, and then my bottom level group, which is my layer 2, maybe my directorate or my department. So what we're now going to do is show how that linkage works. So over here, I'm going to go through the process and start a new project again. I'm going to add in my title, fill out all of my details. Now, in the same way I did before, I'm going to search my group, but I want to add my layer 2 because as a kind of staff member, I'm more familiar with the department or the directorate I work within, maybe not the top level. So I've searched my relevant directorate, relevant department, and I've added it to my project in the way that we saw before. Now, what you'll notice is it is automatically pulled through my top level group as well. And that's because we created the second level group with the top level as a linked group. Okay, I hope that makes sense. But essentially, that is how you would build your structure. So all of the different areas are by groups. So if you have multiple levels, you want to start with the top level, build those out as groups. We're then going to create the level 2s underneath that top level. When we create those level 2 groups, we'll be adding that top layer as a linked group and so on and so forth down the chain, okay? Then if someone links to the bottom level, it's going to automatically bring through all of those top levels of reporting for you. By setting this structure up and by having these groups, it's going to ensure that you have accurate reporting and visibility across your whole organization. You're not going to need to scour a project list of 100 projects and try and work out which one's taking place in which area of your organization. This is going to ensure that you know exactly where everything is aligned. You're going to be able to then create those dashboards to have a central place to go to really understand and deep dive into what is happening within each area. It's a lot of information for half an hour. I've got one other thing I want to show you, but before I do that, I'm just going to check in, see if we've got any questions, kind of stop for a second and give people an opportunity to pop things in the chat, to pop things in Q&A. Is there anything that you were hoping that I would have showed today that I maybe haven't as of yet? Have you got any questions about anything we've spoken about so far? Please do feel free to pop it in the chat and I'd be more than happy to go over anything with you. And Lewis, have we had anything as of yet or anything that I have missed?
No, there's nothing that's come through yet, Sophie.
Okay, perfect. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you all a minute to kind of digest that, and I'll show you one other thing, which I think is worth talking about. And then please do pop stuff in the chat and I'll be more than happy to kind of go over any of your questions. But it might be that after this session, you go away thinking, yeah, that's it. I want to go and set up my organizational structure. I want to be able to have my analytics dashboards to report on, you know, my divisions and my directorates, and I want to see all of it. But it might be that you've already got projects in the system that aren't aligned because we haven't had that structure set up. We do have the ability to retrospectively link to your organizational structure in LifeQI. So let's look at an example. So say I've just gone through and I've added in all of my groups and I've created that organizational structure. What I now want to do is I want to go through and I want to ensure that each project is linked to the right area. So to do that, I'm going to go into my projects, as you can see here. I'm then on the right-hand side of the page, there's my members panel. I'm going to pop that one open and I'm just going to hit invite new members. And in the same way that I did upon creating that project, I'm going to search for and invite the relevant group to this project. So that's how we would then retrospectively add any of our newly created organizational structure to our already created projects in LifeQI. Okay, So I can't see anything come in, but let's just kind of recap on what we can achieve by using our setting up our organizational structure in Life QI. We have the ability to create bespoke analytics dashboards, which can capture different metrics at different levels and in different amounts of detail. We can do top level for the whole organization. We can drill down to individual areas of the organization, and we can dictate the types of metrics that we want to see on those dashboards. Not only is it the dashboarding that we can do, we also then have the ability to kind of run actual like reports on those areas. So say, for example, I needed to run a project list every month of what's happening within my division that I can share with my senior management team. By using the groups and creating our organizational structure, we can filter down our project list within the projects area and then run a report on those. So using these more filters option here, we can then filter by group. So I want to do by children's division. That's then going to narrow the list down of projects to all of the projects that are only happening within our children's division. From here, we can click into each of those projects and see what's happening specifically within the projects. But we also then have the ability to run a report for that area. By clicking this actions button here, we can then run a project summary report. But you can also speak to the LifeQI team and create a bespoke report template if there's certain information you want to be pulling out. But we can then run this report on those specific areas. Now this report is quite basic. This is just going to pull off my title, my aim, progress score, lead user's name, and count of users. So this is quite a simple one. But this is really useful for you to then create report. You can then pull this project list report off as a CSV or as a PDF and share that to your team outside of LifeQI. So that's another way that that group and reporting structure can be really, really useful. Okay. So I know we're a little bit under time, but that's kind of everything we were going to cover today. I really hope that that has been helpful in understanding kind of that reporting structure a little bit more. Really getting to grips with the types of metrics we can see and how we would do that. Now, if this is something that you would like to set up for your organization, or maybe you need to change within your organization, please feel free to reach out to us. We have the help desk, and Lewis can pop the email to the help team in there. And also, some of you will have kind of your success managers as well that you can speak directly to if you would like to about setting up these reporting structures. It's also, if the workflows element of it might be something that you're interested in, also please do reach out to us and we'll be more than happy to tell you more information about that, how that works. But before I sign off for the day and let you all get 15 minutes back in your diary, I'm just going to open up once more, see if anyone has any feedback, any comments, any questions, or anything else that they would like me to go over before we end for the day. So I'll just stop sharing for a minute and give people a little bit of time to see if they would like to pop anything in the chat. Okay, well, nothing's come in, so hopefully that's been a really helpful session and it's been useful to everybody. But like I said, please reach out to us if you need any more information. We've also got a really useful help article around the reporting structures in LifeQI. So what I can do is I can pop a link to that in the chat as well. And then you feel free to go away and have a look at that. And that will also then link you out to all of the other help articles on everything we've covered. So how to create your groups, how to think about what you want in your dashboards. So let me just pop that in the chat now. 2 seconds. Here we go. I'll pop that in. Okay, perfect. Hi, Gabrielle. Yes, apologies. I think that's my fault for saying the wrong time. But yes, absolutely. A recording will be sent out about this webinar. So the full recording will be accessible online, and we will send an email afterwards with the full recording. And then when you do watch, if you do have any questions, please do get directly in touch with me. But apologies, I think that was my fault. For some reason, I had it in my head that it started at 4, and then it actually started at 3:30. So I do apologise. But yes, we will send out the recording afterwards. Do have a look at the help article that I've just sent. And also, like I said, any questions, anything you'd like to discuss, please get in touch with us. But thank you so much, everyone, for listening to me today. It's been great. And yeah, have a good afternoon, everyone, and take care. Thanks so much. Bye.